Welcome back to another exciting episode of All About You. Guys, I've been getting a lot of messages of you guys wanting me to talk about how to get better at this game. And one of the most important factors of getting really good at this game is resource management, meaning that you know how to manage all the resources you're utilizing in your deck, whether it may be draw, your energy, or effects that are on the board. So in today's video, we will be talking about that topic. And this will be a part of a series called How to Become a God. As you guys may already know, I've been called the DragonBall God based off my teammate, Eon Hill. There was recent drama a little while back, a few weeks ago, where there were a lot of players saying that I wasn't credible or I wasn't that good at the game, etc., etc. And I went to Gen Con and I ended up winning the event. And then I won some other heavy size load. Recently we have the 1K event that you guys know about. And I came in the top 4 with having to split for prizing since there wasn't enough time. But I was pretty much confident that I was going to win that event. So was everyone else. But, I already looked at the competition. I analyzed what decks were being played. So I built a contingency plan on how to face each deck overall. So I was going to be in a good state of mind and good state of gameplay overall to, win the 1K tournament. But with that being said, today's episode is going to be titled Resource Management, because I noticed that a lot of you guys, when you're playing a lot, especially a lot of the newer players, it's sometimes a little hard. It's hard to make decisions, during gameplay. Sometimes you overextend and you end up tapping out all your energy, which in this game you get punished for that. Now, I'm going to give you a few examples, and with that, hopefully you can learn. Overall, I'm going to give you an idea of how to play. All right, guys. So I'm going to actually give you an example up close and personal. All right, this is just an example, so don't take it for face value, but I'm going to give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about when it comes to management resources. Okay, making sure that you manage the little resources you may have. So let's just put it like this. Let's say right now you're in a scenario similar to this. You have right now, you're this player, you're the Champa player, and you're going against the Vegeta player, right? So at this point in time, you have 3 life left. Your opponent's been doing a lot of damage. And let's just say, for the sake of the argument, you have, this is your discard pile. Okay, so I'm kind of doing it right on the spot. You have this discard pile. You have these 4 characters up front. This is your hand. Okay, so you have 2 Majin Buus, a Champa, Sensu Bean, Divide 8 Vados, etc., etc. You can pretty much see the hand. And your opponent has this board. For the sake of the argument, let's say their hand size is low because they kept using Objection, but they kept using Vegeta's effect during gameplay, so they kind of balanced out. They don't have too many cards in hand. Let's say they have about 4 to 5 cards in hand, but they have a pretty healthy board, okay? So with this being said, your hand size is much larger, as you can see. You have multiple cards in hand, but you're in this situation. You haven't drawn yet. It's about to be your turn. You have 4 energy untapped. So far, this is your board. You draw. Okay, you draw into a Manipulating God Champa. All right? So now you have these 4 cards in hand, Sensu Bean, Divine, and all of this. So at this point, you can place the energy down, right? Your opponent already has about 7 energy. They already built a lot of resources during gameplay. They were using objection because they're running that card to try to gain ramp advantage. They're playing Vegeta. They're playing other cards that give you draw, Majin Buu. They're playing Vegeta Prince of Speed, which is an amazing card. And they're playing, of course, Vegeta the Leader, which is also giving you hand power and is also hurting you. This is why you have a discard pile, and they were critting you during the game. So it wasn't easy building resources, you know? But long story short, this is your turn. What do? You're in a situation where your opponent has 1 untapped energy, 4 to 5 cards in hand, a pretty healthy board that is already, you know, strong because they started up ahead of you, so they have multiple characters on the board, and they use sensu beans and cards like that just to play more characters in play, as you can see, and objections, right? So right now you're in a situation where it's your turn. You have these guys. Now, realistically speaking, right, you have more than one option at this point. You can go for, let's say, putting down one of your terror assaults as energy, you know, and let's see what happens when you do that. You place this card as energy, right? So now you're in a situation where you have this in hand. So some of you players, I noticed, you guys would end up doing things that are not the most viable. Some of you guys who look at that life, see that they have 4 to 5 cards in hand, and say, you know what, I'm gonna drop Vados, you know? And you guys will tap out, tap all your energy out, and you guys will try to go for game because your opponent is at a low amount of life, and you know, now you have a semi-decent board. You might attack and get multiple characters out with Vados. But there's a problem with that, and this is why this video is called Resource Management. At this point in the game, your opponent clearly has a bigger advantage. Right now, if I decided to do a play like that, my opponent right now has the 5k, they have 3 5ks that don't require any energy to block with if things get hectic, right? And they also can block with one of their 10ks and just pay one energy. But even then, that's already visible. They already have 10k plus 3 5ks. That's 25k that they can guard with, assuming that they had nothing in hand to guard with as well. And if they only had, let's say they have 4 cards in hand, right? For the sake of the argument, they only have 4 cards in hand. Basically, you have to assume when your opponent has 4 cards in hand, best case scenario, you should always assume that they may have at least half their hand is guardable. I always use about the 50% route. I sometimes would even gauge higher, but at the bare minimum, they are gonna have at least another additional 10k. More than likely, they can have more, but at least give them the benefit of the doubt that their hand is in complete garbage and they have at least 10k in their hand since they only have 4 cards. That's already 35k shield. Right now, me dropping Vados and trying to put pressure on them, I don't know what's gonna go down. They may have used 2-3 sensu beans during gameplay. That final energy can be a sensu bean, which will give Vegeta a nice 5k boost, and it would be very hard for you guys to break that defense when especially you're playing with a deck that is made based off weenies. And what I mean weenies are low attack characters that can attack aggressively. That's why Vegeta's life is low. It's low because obviously during gameplay you lost some characters, you were aggro, you were trying to get to their life, but at the same time they were establishing board, right? And this was the situation. In any case, they probably have some characters tapped out, you know, they probably have a few of their guys tapped out, more than likely these 2 guys and possibly more than likely their leader. So that would be more of a realistic situation of how the board would look like at this point. But even so, it's like, okay, well, I can try to tap out, like I said, and play Vados, and maybe instead of going after the leader, I can try to kill off their resources by attacking Vados. You know, and 20k versus 20k, if my attack is successful, their character would die off. But again, I just tapped out to play her. So this again is resource management. So let's see what the best play would have been, right? Because at this point, I can go through this, but I don't have another player. In future videos, I will have an opponent, so you can actually go through gameplay and just test out different game states. And I think you guys will enjoy that. But let's say instead, this is right back here. This was my opening start. This is back in my hand. Let's say I decided, you know what, I'm not in a predicament to rush. So why not play a resource management game? Why not play Majin Buu as an energy, right? So now I have 5 energy. My opponent is tapped out. They have some resources, you know, gone. Why not play a little bit more conservative, right? Why not play a Majin Buu, tap out, draw 1 card. Oh, I drew a Vados. Cool. You know, at this point, I can play Manipulating Garchompa, right? Tap out one of my red energy, search, let's say top 7, you know, whatever. I hit something or I miss, it doesn't really matter. Point is that I potentially get another card in hand, right? Maybe I might end up doing another one. Play another Garchompa, right? Playing up another one. So now, I already played 3 characters. These 3 characters are giving me 15 shield, and I possibly could have grabbed and netted another 10k or another 5k, whatever the case may be. So that's still putting me in a better predicament, right? But, as of now, I have a Senzu Bean in hand, I have Divine Vados, and I have quite a few 10k boosts, as you can see, right? So I have a few of these guys, these bad boys. So at this point, I have 2 energy left. I can just resource management, guys, you know, tack one of their guys, draw a card, see what happens. Status, not looking too good on my point. I could have easily attacked their leader just so that I can get a hit through. They may take it, they may not. Assuming what happens, that's based on the opponent. Now it's their turn. I left all my guys untapped so I can use them as shield, right? Just to guard. And I have a good amount of cards in hand. Their turn, they start, you know, they renew all their guys, they draw their card, and they renew all their energy. At this point, they could play pretty much anything, you know. But the point is that I made sure that I managed my resources thoroughly, and I'm going to make sure I try to survive in this game. Maybe if they overextend, I might be able to get a fighting chance back in this game. Obviously, this situation, I'm at a huge disadvantage. But some games don't go your way, and that's why you have to learn how to manage your resources. At least now I can Senzu Bean, renew another energy, because I have to pay 1 blue, and then renew another one. My Guardian's now, my leader is now at 20k. I have extra shield that I can guard. I still have a free 10k boost in hand, and I have an additional 30k boost that now I can use because I decided to use resource management instead of going aggro when I was at a disadvantage. Sometimes going aggro and playing a drop for the amount of energy you have is not the best play, because you end up putting yourself in a predicament where now you don't have any, you barely have any resources to guard, and you're open for an attack. And if you're at a low amount of life, as you can see, 3 life, that's already a situation where it's not in your favor. Now, maybe I could have done that if had my life been, you know, extra, I had an extra 3 life, and maybe I wasn't awakened, obviously, at this point. But the point is, I might have done something like that, you know, where I dropped Vados and I was like, you know what, let me try to attack their guys. But overall, I hope you guys get a picture or understanding of what I mean in terms of resource management. Now I'm gonna kind of just continue talking about it, and you're gonna have to, I guess, see my face at this point. But let's just keep moving forward. So I hope that example helped a bit. But obviously, you know, since I wasn't actually going against an opponent and I wasn't, you know, recording an actual live game, obviously that may be a little harder to recognize. But what I will do for you guys in the future is I will record actual matches and just talk over the matches. You know, I'll do another brief summary of why certain plays aren't good and why certain plays are. And you'll just hear commentary with probably some music in the background, some soothing music, nice Dragon Ball stuff going on, while you watch gameplay, so I can give you a better understanding of resource management. So I'll make a part 2 of this video with actual gameplay. But I wanted to give you guys an idea of how to manage your resources, because many players, they'll tap out unnecessarily, especially when they're not even in a good predicament. If you're in a low amount of life, there's no need for tapping out, because by you tapping out, you're going to give your opponent a huge advantage to try to game you. And that is the perfect opening for them to take advantage and just scoop your shit up, you know, excuse the language, but that's pretty much it. You know, at that point, you're pretty much giving the game away. Now, I will be doing other videos, and this will be the series of how to become a god, like yours truly, you know, in the game. And I will do a lot of play-by-plays and give you other examples on other specific resource resources that you should be utilizing. And it's not always about resource management. It's definitely about your perspective of the game, what characters to decipher to play, who should you play at what time. I'm going to be giving you guys more details on what the better plays are and why they net you a better advantage. As you saw in the last video, I showed you guys, even though it wasn't the best way, but I showed you guys how playing other cards that can net you more cards in hand at a situation where you need to try to stay alive is going to be more helpful than trying to game your opponent or trying to, you know, set up a bigger board when your board is not that important at this point. Your life is more important. And as you may have seen already in a previous video when I interviewed the translator in the GenCon experience video, you can see how he specifically spoke about how life matters a lot in this game. And it does, guys, it does. You know, losing life so early or losing control of the game, it's gonna hurt you and potentially will cost you the game. And that's something that you have to understand. So with that being said, I want to just give a little talk about something new that I want to do with this channel. As you guys may already know, you've been seeing myself mainly and a few of my teammates with a few other members that I know, you know, on this channel doing some, you know, giving advice or talking on behalf of newer players. But one of the things I want to do is I want to actually incorporate other individuals in this scene. And I noticed that the women are not so much, or the girls, you know, depending on age, if you're still 17, 18, you're still like a girl. But, you know, they're not so much engaged in this community. I do see some female players involved in the gaming community and involved in specifically this CCG. But overall, there's not that many. And I noticed that some of you guys have been asking me, will I have other people featured on this channel, specifically like women? And the answer is yes, hopefully. But what I'm talking about right now at this point is to reach out to a lot of you female players that may be interested in meeting up if you live in the NYC area, and if you don't mind being featured on the channel. So I can actually show the community a different perspective on how other players actually tackle this game. And it would give some spice than just seeing a guy, me specifically, all the time on the channel. You will always see me, but it would be nice to have a little added spice. So, you know, if you're a girl between at least the age of 17, you know, to up to 30, it would be nice. Just message me on YouTube. You could also message me on Facebook. And, you know, I can allow you to be involved in a collaboration with me so that we can kind of give a few more different dynamic perspectives of this game. Because just me all the time, I know, guys, sometimes seeing this face is not always the greatest thing. But at the end of the day, you know, I want to give you guys the best content I can. And if I can get a new face on the channel, even better, right? So with that being said, again, you can reach out to me if you're a female between the age of 17 to 30, and I will feature you on the channel. So often you can be here. I might even help you on your YouTube channel if you need it, so that we can have more women in this game, you know, or in games in general. It doesn't have to necessarily be the CCG, but this is one CCG that's an outlet to many. You know, if you play one, there's a good chance you play multiple others. So with that being said, thank you for watching this video. I hope I helped you a little bit with resource management, and I'm going to be doing a part 2 that's going to be way more in depth, and it's going to actually be of visual gameplay going on. It might be of my teammates, it might be of a matching locals. I will do something so I can actually do commentary and show you why the play wasn't the greatest and why it left them in a bad predicament to lose the game, or why their plays were good and it left them in a better position to win the game. Because every play you make is very essential from beginning to end, and that will determine whether or not you will win or lose. With that being said, it's always a pleasure, and as you know, this channel is all about you.